All right, you're ready.
All right. We're going to call the meeting to order. This is a council meeting for March 28, 2017. As you can obviously see, the mayor is absent. He had a medical situation in his family that he is attending to, is what I understand. This meeting will have a closed session pursuant to KRS 61810F, discussions which might lead to the discipline or dismissal of an individual employee, namely Mayor John Royalty, without restricting the employee's right to a public hearing if requested pursuant to the council's investigation. Before we go into regular business, I'd ask that the council, by motion, second and vote, elect a presiding officer to conduct the meeting.
I make a motion that Dick Keaton be the presiding officer.
You have a second? Councilman Buckman, second. Do you have any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Okay, we'll get started with the meeting. I don't think there's any groups or individuals here that were on the agenda. The second item is there anyone in the audience who would like to have time to get input from the public?
Excuse me, Dick. Fortunately, Councilman Williams would like to make a recognition of an individual or group. If you don't mind.
Yeah,
So would you come up here and on behalf of the city accept this plaque? This plaque is given an appreciation to the city of Bardstown in recognition to its commitment to the success of the Buttermilk Festival. They had the 22nd annual Buttermilk Days where family and friends began. And so on behalf of Wayne Rogers, who's not here, I'd like to give this to you and then we can display it in City Hall.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Okay, I apologize, there wasn't any groups listed here, so next order of business would be if there is anyone in the public who would like to address the council. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to the Historic Review Board, Planning and Zoning recommendations. There's 5 certificates of appropriateness from the Historic Review Board meeting.
On COA 1545 amended, Kim Conway, applicant owner, would like to alter her design for the carport and breezeway at 211 West Flagey Avenue. Recommendation: approval to cover the patio area in the addition with a roof. The roof will be black shingles with the condition: the design of the light fixtures would be approved by the preservation coordinator. Amended COA 1709, Maggie Harden, applicant owner, proposes to install new wood siding at the rear of her property at 203 West Flagey Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed cement siding on the rear addition of the property. COA 1715, Holden Willett, applicant owner, proposes to receive approval for the installation of a patio at the rear of his property at 206 East Stephen Foster Avenue. Recommendation: approval to keep the installed patio at 206 East Stephen Foster Avenue. COA 1716, Anthony Torres, applicant owner, proposes to install a new side door at 305 South 5th Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed door at the side of the property. COA 1718, Melody Page, applicant owner, proposes to paint the fence at 201 East John Fitch Avenue. Recommendation: approval to paint the fence with the condition: the fence color will be a light gray and it will be approved by the preservation coordinator.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Is there a motion on the recommendations from the Historic Review Board?
If I'm in order, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendations coming from the Historical Review Board with their stipulations, the recommendations. COA 1545, COA 1709, COA 1715, COA 1716, and COA 1718.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Williams. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to make one note if I could. On COA 1715 Hogan Willett, I just want on the record that it says approval to keep the installed patio. Well, he jumped the gun without going through the channels, that he did pay the fee that's associated with that, so that's why it says installed. He was already done ahead of his application. Just so we'll know that that did happen.
That explains it a little better.
Yeah.
Than having to keep it
Yeah.
as opposed to build it. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Next item of business, you have the minutes is included in your packet. Ask if there's any corrections or additions in the minutes. If not, I'd take a motion to approve them as presented. A motion, a second? Second. A second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, next item of business is a financial report for the Travel and Training Council expense report. Barbie, I don't know, just...
This is through a municipal order. It's required that after an expense is submitted for reimbursement, that it goes before the council for review and becomes part of the minutes.
So no further action is necessary, I don't think. Oh, that's going to place the minutes automatically, I think.
Please.
I said, we don't have to prove it or anything, it just...
No, it's
minutes.
just a report that goes before the
That was
council.
previously approved and appropriate $2,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir, exactly.
all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we have any reports from staff or any committees? I don't see anything listed on the agenda. Okay. Under new business, I think Councilman Copeland, this is Washington DC National Preservation Conference Report.
And Dick, I wanted to table this because it's pretty lengthy, so we can table this for the next agenda.
All right.
Thank you.
And then there's, under B, under that is training and travel policy.
It was a request of council.
Same thing.
Same thing, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from the council members?
I don't have any.
Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to the cemetery deeds. We have one for, do you want to cover that, Barbie?
Yes. Submitted for Carla Denise Spalding, has requested one grave site, paid for that. Martha Fogel, again, one grave site, and it's been paid. And then also for Teresa and Harold Fulkerson, they purchased 2 grave sites. Those are the 3 presented.
All right, and we need a motion for that, right?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we authorize, I guess the mayor would still sign those?
And city clerk, yes, sir.
And city clerk to execute those deeds listed there under A, B, and C, under Carla Denise, Martha Fogel, and Teresa and Harold Fulkerson.
Thank you.
Carla Denise Spalding, I left out the last name.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise? Okay. These are approved. Are there any announcements? Nothing?
No.
Okay. The next item of business is the closed session. Do I need to read that or attend?
All right.
It'll be part of the motion, sir.
I'll make a motion on that. I move that the 6 city council members and Mr. Scott Crosby and those with him and anybody the council may invite in during the closed session go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810 subsection F regarding discussions which might lead to the discipline or dismissal of an individual employee, namely Mayor John Roltick, without restricting that employee's right to a public hearing if requested pursuant to the council's investigation.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, likewise.
Would it be possible to receive the names of those who stay behind for my minutes?
Yes, Mr. Crosby can furnish those to you.
Any additional ones, Mr. Kelly?
It'd be these 3 gentlemen.
The 3?
Clay Mason.
Okay, Clay Mason. And
Scott Crosby
should have said that.
and Eric
Can they go in or not?
Eaton, thank you.
She won't be.
All right. We'll need to clear the room,
And if
please.
we said we might invite somebody in, if we do, we'll let you know.
Would you let us know? Just come out of executive session.
Okay, we're out of the closed session. I need a motion to go back into the regular session of the October 28th City Council of Bardstown meeting. Excuse me, April 28th City Council. March. March. I wrote April here. March 28th meeting, Bardstown City Council.
I'll make that motion that we come out of executive session.
And I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to come out of executive session, go back into regular session. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let the record also show that during the executive closed session, there was no action taken on the part of the council. Now we're back into regular session. I would ask Scott Crosby if he would present a copy of the final investigative report to the city of Bardstown.
Oh, well.
Clerk, on that. That is the written report. Inside there is a document with an envelope that has the exhibits to the attached. I think there are 88 exhibits.
Can I share it with the attorney as well? Get it? Just to make sure. He'll know what all that means.
You will find a disc, but it probably would make sense that we confirm that the disc is
Or a thumb drive.
that flash drive. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yep, there's a flash drive.
I would also like to present this to the mayor, if you could
Certainly.
ensure that he would.
I'll make sure he gets it.
Copy.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve and accept for the record our investigator Scott Crosby's report that's entitled City of Bardstown City Council Investigation Final Report, March 28, 2017.
okay, we have a motion to accept the report as presented. Can I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Crosby, would you like to present the findings of the investigation and report?
I will. Steve. Members of the council, city attorney, honorable clerk. What you have here is a 44-page document outlining the results of our investigation over the past 3 months. As I indicated, there is an attachment. I believe there's 88 exhibits, probably about 300 documents. I will share with the council from the standpoint of an overview. We reviewed approximately 5,000 documents over the course of several weeks. There were a number of witnesses and individuals and others who were who agreed voluntarily to participate in this investigation. They are identified in the report. I would first like to say we had retained 2 outstanding investigators as part of this process, 2 former federal agents with the FBI. One is with me today. I'd like to recognize Clay Mason. Carl Christensen was not able to make it tonight, but both were instrumental in assisting us throughout the process of gathering information for members of the council. As I indicated, we did receive a great deal of cooperation, not only just through interviews, but in conversations with city employees and others in the community who came forward to assist us in trying to understand the events and circumstances specifically related to the distribution of packets at a November 1st council meeting. But as we progressed in the investigation, we were able to determine several other issues through their help and involvement in this process. And I commend those employees who were willing to voluntarily participate and to assist us. We were able to complete the investigation without having to obtain any sworn statements or compelling anyone to come before the council. And that is in large part due to the willingness of folks to provide us information and to provide assistance. As you can see, the document itself, the summary of findings, council, is set forth on page 2. Pursuant to council member for the council's request that we read those findings, I will do so today. I do not intend to get into the evidence from a substantial standpoint or discuss it any further. The evidence in the package, I think the package, the report speaks for itself. But the summary investigative findings, if I could read those. The 3-month investigation confirmed evidence of these facts. Mayor John Royalty had actual knowledge and personal involvement in the research, collection, and distribution of the records in the packets. On separate occasions, Mayor Royalty ordered Captain Todd Spaulding to print copies of the fire incident reports associated with Councilmember Keisha Copeland. Captain Todd Spaulding gave the reports to Mayor Royalty in 2015, and again on September the 27th, 2016, the same date on the reports contained inside the packets. Approximately 2 weeks prior to the delivery of the packets, Mayor Royalty forwarded the website link to the internet blog article critical of Councilmember Copeland to his assistant Kathy Graham and former Councilman Bill Buckman. Mayor John Royalty ordered a city employee to lie to the city council so he could obtain their iPads under false pretenses and gain unauthorized access to their personal email accounts. Mayor John Royalty ordered a city employee to access the personal email account of Councilmember Keisha Copeland without her consent and upon false pretenses. Mayor John Royalty directed the city employee to obtain access to Councilmember Copeland's personal email account, despite knowing and ignoring the city employee's reservations about the legality and/or appropriateness of the action. Mayor John Royalty improperly used city personnel and equipment to access, review, and obtain copies of private email communications of Councilmember Keisha Copeland dating to 2013 and before she was an elected city council member. Mayor John Royalty disseminated the private email communications of Keisha to a third party in violation of Councilmember Copeland's privacy, intending to injure her reputation and affect the outcome of the city council elections. Mayor John Royalty, in concert with Police Captain Mackenzie Mattingly and possibly others, devised a plan requiring the use of city personnel, resources, and equipment to retaliate against Councilmember Copeland. Mayor John Royalty abused his official authority and influence with the intent and purpose of interfering with or affecting the results of the city council elections. Mayor John Royalty, under oath and subject to perjury, provided false and deceptive testimony during a December 12, 2016 deposition about his prior knowledge and involvement with records distributed to the city council at the November 1st, 2016 work session. Mayor John Royalty, after the city council authorized the investigation, accessed and/or obtained the private email communication sent by third parties to Councilmember Copeland's city email account. We have provided, in the context of those findings, with proposed actions for the city council to consider. And those are found on, if I can get to that page 43 of the report. Potential council actions, there are several listed here. The first is the city council may authorize and schedule a full public hearing to determine whether there is enough evidence to remove Mayor John Royalty from office for misconduct, incapacity, or willful neglect. KRS 83A.040, Section 9, provides for the removal of elected officers under certain circumstances. The second potential council action, and it would be more of a group of actions that the council may and should take under advisement, is that the city council may refer evidence obtained during this investigation or discovered at any public hearing on Mayor John Royalty's removal from office to the following for further consideration and examination: the Nelson County Attorney, the Commonwealth Attorney, the Commonwealth of Kentucky Office of Attorney General, their Cyber Crimes Unit, the Commonwealth of Kentucky's Office of Attorney General, their Public Integrity and Special Investigations Unit, and the United States Attorney's Office. The third option for their consideration is that the City Council may refer financial and budgetary issues identified during the investigation to the Kentucky Auditor of Public Accounts and request an examination of the city's policies, procedures, controls, and financial activities for further review and recommendations. Those are the potential actions that we are advising the council to consider. I've outlined for everyone the findings of fact, and I appreciate the council giving me the opportunity to investigate these matters on behalf of the citizens of Nelson County and the city of Bardstown, and I appreciate it very much. That concludes my comments for today.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Okay, next item would be what, if any, action the council would like to take after review of this investigative report.
I have a motion to make that. Before I make my motion, I want to express in public my thanks to Scott Crosby. He worked tirelessly on this. Clay Mason and Carl Christensen, they put a lot of hours in chasing down witnesses and talking to different people, and the staff that work with them. I mean, I think they've done a great service to the citizens of Bardstown and the council here. All right, now I'd like to make the following motion. I move pursuant to KRS 83A.040 subsection 9 to conduct a hearing to consider whether Mayor John Royalty should be removed from the office of mayor of the city of Bardstown, Kentucky. The issues for the hearing are: 1, are the findings in the investigation report true? 2, if true, do the findings constitute misconduct or willful neglect in the performance of the duties of the office of mayor? And 3, does the misconduct or willful neglect, if any, justify the removal of John Royalty as mayor of Bardstown? Also, as a part of the motion, I would move that this hearing be scheduled for April the 12th, 2017 at 10 a.m. and be conducted at the Nelson County Justice Center, 200 Nelson County Plaza, Bardstown, Kentucky, subject to the approval of the circuit clerk that we'll have to get, and I'll work on that. I also ask that as a part of the motion that the council authorize me to solicit a proposal for a person to act as hearing officer at this hearing. And what I will do, I'll work on that and I'll bring that back to the council at the next council meeting a week from today. I also move that we continue the employment of our investigator, Scott Crosby.
Excuse me, Mr. Kelly, that'll be a separate motion if you don't mind. We'll finish the motion in regard to the hearing and the conduct, and then you can...
This is part of the hearing. This goes with the hearing. You have to have somebody present the, I move also that we continue the employment of investigator Scott Crosby to present the evidence found in this investigation at the hearing. And that the other, this is in regard to the potential action we can take, the first one that he listed out, and as to the other actions, potential actions, that as a part of this motion, that we should take those under advisement. And that's my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, any questions?
As part of that, would Mr. Crosby basically be prosecutor, for lack of a better term?
Well, this is not a criminal matter, so I hate to use that term out and being published, but he would be presenting the evidence on the council's investigation.
Okay,
So
that's fair, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Mr. Heaton, are you part of that motion, sir? Or that vote, 6-0? Thank you, sir.
May I have one further motion I'd like to make? That we're going to have at the next meeting several issues regarding this hearing come up. Actually the hearing of April 12th, 2017 will have to be a special meeting of the council, and we will, when we have these matters come up regarding the hearing, I think Mayor Rolte will have a conflict on presiding on those matters. Like we'll have to consider the hearing officer next time. Of course, he can be presiding officer for all other issues, I think, but since during that portion of the meeting, I think you have to step aside as presiding officer. So I would move that we have as presiding officer for those portions of future meetings that concern our hearing and the investigation, that Council Member Dick Heaton be the presiding officer there, and at the special meeting where we conduct the hearing. So.
Okay, we have a motion for a presiding officer at the hearing, and also any meetings of the council prior to that, as the agenda items may relate to the hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then, whereas the mayor may have a conflict to be the presiding officer at those meetings, he will be a presiding officer elected by the council. So we have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Is there any other discussion?
And just to be clear, when you were talking about the April 12th meeting, that would be subject to the conduct of the hearing officer. You were talking about presiding officer and hearing officer, but at the 12th, it would be
the way I think the
hearing
meeting would
officer
have to be conducted is that it's going to be a meeting, we're going to have a quorum there, so it's going to be a meeting of the council, that the presiding officer would call the meeting into order. First item on the agenda would be, well, the first item would be to announce that we would go into closed session at some point in time during the consideration and adjudication phase of it, that we would recess at that part. But then after that announcement was made, that the first item on it would be the hearing, and then it would be turned over to the hearing officer to conduct the hearing. Then at the end of the hearing, the presiding officer would again step forward, and we'd have to have a motion to go into executive session. And then, you know, just like when you come out, you gotta have a motion, you gotta have a motion to adjourn, and so forth. So we, you know, I don't think we have any choice but to surround the hearing with a meeting.
That's good. I just want to make clear for everybody, and myself included, that you've got a presiding officer and hearing officer that have separate and definite duties.
Tim, do you agree that in the event since this hearing would be in reference to conduct of the mayor, that he would have conflict to
I
act
think
as a
that-
presiding officer in that
I think
meeting.
that's correct, yes, sir.
All right, call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think that concludes our agenda this evening. Joe?
I think at this point, maybe we should remind everyone that we do have the whistleblower ordinance in place and that the city council intends to uphold that ordinance. For the city employees.
Especially, in the report, there's people that have given statements, and, with that whistleblower ordinance, there shouldn't be any actions. You can read the ordinance and see what you can and can't do, but there should be no actions against those persons for any reason, because there is a criminal penalty in that ordinance. I'm sorry to step on your,
It's okay.
This is a good point, Councilman Butler. Thank you, Councilman.
And presiding officer, Heaton, if you don't mind, and I would at least publicly implore that any employee that might have questions to call me, and I will try to provide whatever counsel I can concerning that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Butler. Okay, if there's nothing else before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Williams, and a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Copeland. All in favor? Aye. So we are adjourned.